The final chorus for Your Ears Only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Eddie Robinson with this quote from the news. Not a tragedy, it's only a tennis match. That was the world's number 2 player, Rafael Nadal, an 11-time Grand Slam title winner, brushing off his second-round exit at Wimbledon after a stunning defeat by 100-ranked Czech Lukas Rosol. Now this.
Loving one who loves you and then taking that vow. Nice work if you can get it. And if you get it, won't you tell me how? Summertime, and living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high.
Excerpts from 2 new Gershwin Brothers musicals, now playing back-to-back on Broadway. Nice Work If You Can Get It, and the Gershwins' Porgy and Bess, even though composer George died in 1937 and lyricist Ira in 1983. And it's no mere coincidence. In both cases, trustees of George and Ira's separate estates have been working for years to keep their classic songs in the public mind and to create new versions of their old shows that can be profitably performed under new copyrights for decades to come.
Last month's haul of Tony Awards by both shows and good box office numbers have helped those trustees ease the pain of some past criticism that they're overexploiting the family's musical legacy. To talk about that pain and the process of keeping the legacy alive and relevant for Your Ears Only, we're pleased to have one of the trustees most involved. He's Michael Strunsky, nephew of Ira and Leonore Strunsky Gershwin. Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you.
How long have you been a trustee of the Ira and Leonore estate?
Well, I've been an active trustee since 1983, a few months after Ira Gershwin died. But all my life, I've been hearing the music, and I've often heard the interesting little side bit stories that go with each song.
Before the 2 shows now on Broadway, there was Crazy for You, an expansion of the Gershwin show Girl Crazy, and My One and Only, based on their earlier Funny Face. How do you decide which shows are good candidates for updating and which creative teams can best balance Gershwin tradition and changing audience tastes?
Well, let me interrupt you for just a second, because there was another show that you have left off of that list that didn't make it very well on Broadway. It was called Fascinating Rhythm, and it was done in about 98 or 99. It was done at the Longacre Theater, if I remember correctly, and it consisted of a group of little vignettes that reflected the meaning of each of the songs. It closed after less than 100 performances. And it illustrates the fact that we, too, are human and make mistakes.
So how do you decide what to give a chance?
Well, usually it starts with some idea. They were very separate ideas. The Porgy and Bess that you see on Broadway is not the opera, which has been around since 1935. It may have the same root story as the opera, but it is presented as a Broadway musical. The singing and the parts are musically adjusted for Broadway singers with the range of capability of Broadway singers, also the ability to sing the part 8 times a week, and the plot is adjusted to move along so that the whole piece gets completed in about 2 hours and 35 minutes, including the intermission. It's a very different piece than the opera, where people sit back and essentially listen to the music while the plot has less effect. In our production of Porgy and Bess, it moves right along, and the audience can feel part of what is going on the stage.
And how much control do the Gershwin estates demand over a production? Its script, casting, direction, permission to extend a run?
Well, there are 2 separate answers to that question. One is what's in the contract. And the contract is very typical and gives us a kind of universal rights. We can enter into casting. We can enter into music. I have a sort of different philosophy of that, and step around the issue. My feeling is that once we pick a producer and a director, our job is done. That the right producer and the right director will create the right show. They are far more skilled at those areas than I am, and traditionally that's what we've done.
How did you and fellow trustees react to criticism by current Broadway icon Stephen Sondheim about the new Porgy and Bess even before previews began and long before it beat Sondheim's Follies in the Tony competition?
Well, I'd be lying to you if I told you that it didn't bother us and we didn't feel that it would be counterproductive and possibly reduce the income from the show. Sondheim is a great name, and his work will live forever in the Broadway milieu. I think we were disappointed that he would attack the show based upon as little knowledge as he had about the show. We've gotten over our anger to Mr. Sondheim, recognizing his vast capability, and wish he'd come to see the show.
Mike Strunsky is a nephew of Ira and Leonore Strunsky Gershwin and head of the Ira and Leonore Gershwin Trust.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's marvelous. It's marvelous. You should care for me.
And this has been For Your Ears Only.